Scoops. And I'll tell you why, because you're here for a reason tonight. And I don't care whether you've got the book or not, you're going to buy another copy. Clark. My name is Deborah, and I welcome you to Scoops Theatre of Books. Quickly want to just thank Kim Hunter from Tango with Text, who is live feeding this to all our Facebook friends globally. I'd like to thank Anisha Singh for being here. She's a great ambassador for authors in this country. So Anisha Singh is, can you just show us your hands, Anisha? Thank you, darling. This is not an ordinary bookstore. Your first time people here tonight, can I just see you? Aishwena, what's wrong? Let me tell you why you should come often. Just quickly. In the last 3 years, we have launched over 300 African authors in this store. Don't you think that's fabulous? Did you know we had so many authors in South Africa? 85% of them are African women. Talk about finding the woman within. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome our newest author, who has the same personality as me. I loved working with Nosipho. She came here like a whirlwind. Took my advice with her book. You know, the lady's in Paris, and she's here, and she's there, and she's moving and shaking in a man's world, and breaking the patriarchal system which needs to be done. No offense to the African men here tonight. Change, it's happening, and it's been wonderful to work with these authors. They are here literally every week. If you're interested in reading, we are building rural libraries. We are getting these books out of here. We are giving them to people. We are making a difference. Be part of that. Support South African authors. Their books are relevant. Nosipho, when you came in here, whirlwind. I got a book. I was excited. I was excited because she came from a man's world, which was just fantastic. I thank you for coming into my life. I thank you for being here tonight. I thank you for choosing Scoops Theatre of Books to have your Johannesburg book launch. Can we give a round of applause, everybody? I just want to quickly thank my staff. They work very hard behind the scenes. And James, our food and beverage manager. And I'm going to hand over, and I want you to have fun tonight. Please buy the book. It doesn't matter if you've got a copy. Buy for a friend. 74% of grade 4 learners in this country can't read. We are in 2019. 56% of my age can't read. We are in 2019. Where are we sitting? You know where we are sitting right now. Elections are around the corner. Education needs to be #key. It's got to be the most important thing, because otherwise your children are going to have nothing if we don't educate them and get them reading. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand you over. Now I usually practice the name. My daughter's name's in Singh, so it's very easy for me to say. But tonight I'm going to introduce your MC as something else. Because I cannot wrap his name around my tongue with all due respect. I'm going to use and introduce to you the Redeemer. I learned that his name means the Redeemer. To bring us out into this book launch tonight. Can we give him a round of applause?
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sihlangule. My name means Lord Liberate Us. I was born 2 years after the Soweto uprisings. So it was a prayer. But tonight is not about me. Tonight we're here to celebrate the Johannesburg launch of the book, Finding the Woman Within. The reason why I say the Johannesburg launch is because this book has traveled from Port Elizabeth to East London to Cape Town and now it's in Johannesburg. The author of this book is Ms. Nosipho Siwisa-Damasane, but you may hear me refer to her as Dabs during the course of the program. Those of you who know her professionally will know that she's a force of nature in the corporate world. She built her career on logistics, which is a male-dominated field. Now, the thing about male-dominated fields is that even if there's no active act of trying to subjugate the development of women, there is always an underlying male privilege that pushes women to the periphery. And UDAPS does not take no for an answer. Those who know her as friends and as family will know that she is a lighthouse for everyone that she loves, and she's passionate about mentoring young people. And that's what we're here today. We're here to celebrate her first adventure into the world of writing. Now, I don't know how many of you have written an essay before. Writing a book is like writing 40 essays that have a theme that you can collate into sub-themes. It's not an easy thing, right? But it helps to have good genes because Udabs is the daughter of L.K. Siwisa, who was a playwright, yes, Xhosa. I think that's a good introduction. I'm not saying that because I'm rating myself. I think it's a good place to pause and to let you know that tonight is not a long program. In a little while, I'm going to call Unomava to come and give us an opening prayer, after which Uabu will give us a song, and then after Uabu, yes, thank you for that correction. You will pray and you will elaborate. Yes. I have no control of the music that's outside, so we're just going to have to power ahead. After Uabu, we're going to have a conversation. Can someone help us with the music? Hello? Sorry, I realize the music is distracting. Sorry about that. We've had absolute silence up until now. Just as we kick off the program, there's an act of sincere sabotage. In any event, we will power on. So I was explaining, after Uabu, what's going to happen is that we will have a discussion with the author, that will be led by Ms. Kanisa Manzini, who is a sister of an old friend Katabao from Etapa, English. Without further ado, I think I'll hand over to Baba to pray, and I'll go and try and attend to the music problem. Baba.
Good evening, everyone. The advantage about prayer is that God can hear prayers even if there's music playing. So spiritually, maybe this is really a good place to start. Can we stand in the presence of God and pray? Thank you. Father, we just thank you for the opportunity to have this book launched today. We thank you for everyone that is here, Lord, that has taken their time
Father God. We thank you for protecting them and getting them here on time. Father, we thank you for the entire program. May we pray for your presence to be in this place, and that, Father God, you will guide every single step, Father. We pray that even with the music, whether it's on or off, Father God, we will find a way, Father God, to be able to hear each other. We just pray for your guidance and leading in your wisdom as we are celebrating my mother. So we ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Apparently, it's a new restaurant that's just been opened today. Are we going to be fine? Yes. We're going to power on? Yes. Okay. Can you guys hear from the back there? We're good. Okay, so the mic is working. Great. So nothing will stop this long? This is your day? Just to introduce myself, because I'm speaking as well, so maybe I was going to be next, so maybe I'll just continue. My name is Nomava, not Vava. I have no longer Vava. I am Nomava. It means wisdom. Vava, I don't know where it comes from. So I decided I want that. So I am Nomava, and I am the firstborn daughter. 36 years old, so you can calculate how old she was. It's in the book. So you want to know how old she was or how old she is? Buy the book. So, wow. I'm supposed to be speaking on behalf of the family. To, first of all, congratulate you. To celebrate with you. I am Leila. Come here, my sister. This is our pianist and musician for today. This is my little sister. So thank you so much for. When she started playing, I didn't know it was her when she was playing. I thought it was just music that was like, wow, okay. So yeah, I know. Thank you so much. So with my sister, and I'm representing all the cousins and all the, if you want, you can stand, you can do whatever you want. But I wanted them to see you. I'm like her mother. So I'm representing the family, but at the same time, when the mom wrote this book, I had the opportunity to be there every step of the way, meaning that I was there when we decided the book would be written. I was there when, through the struggles of getting everything on paper, what to write, what not to write, we went through. I was the, what do you call it? Devil's advocate. It's like, no, this story needs to go in. No, this one, remember. So the process of having to go through, or the journey of going through, that I went through with her as she was writing the book, is kind of like I think it's the angle that I want to take for today. Because as she was writing the book and I was helping her remember some of the stuff that she had forgotten or the things that she didn't realize that were important. I realized something about her. I used to think, I was like, oh, okay, she's humble, and oh yeah, she doesn't get it. We are faker. Nobody's that humble. Like, I was like, no, until she wrote this book. And then I realized just how much she underestimates what she has done, and how much she underestimates the value of her journey throughout, and how it has inspired not just us, but every single person that has come into contact with her or that has watched her over the years grow and rise in her career. So I am grateful that she wrote the book, because I am hoping that as she reads, and it's now it's documented, and she's reading through everything, that she can see that, wow, it's okay to say, yes, I've done well. Yes, you're not 100%. You can enjoy what you have sacrificed a lot. The book says it. They told me, don't talk about the book. And it's difficult because I was there when it was being written, so I know what's in the book. So it's harder. But I'm going to try to make sure that I do not talk about the book, so that I can give everyone an opportunity to read and discover for themselves, and also the conversation. But just as a family, as you have been doing what comes naturally to you, because I think that's the major thing. For her, it's been natural steps, natural decisions. Oh, it makes sense, I must do this. Oh, it makes sense, this is the direction I must take. Oh, it makes sense for the women in South Africa that, okay, I can talk about this one. But it makes sense for women in South Africa that, yeah, I can induce my baby before full term and leave her at age 10, so that I can open doors for South Africa, for South African women, and they don't say, oh, they're always pregnant. So having to make such difficult decisions for you, as much as it was difficult, but it's something that made sense because you have always thought about the bigger picture rather than now. And that's something that I think has inspired us as a family to watch. As your daughters, I have been most inspired because you have always put other people before yourself. You have always put the country, even with all this, with the jobs that you've been in. There's one thing that I've always listened to you saying, every decision that you've made, you've always been saying, oh no, when you got appointed, it's not in the book, when you got appointed in RBCT, and you were in an interview and you were asked, and this could have a bearing whether you get the job or not, and you were asked, if I had to make a decision between, there comes a time when you have to make a decision where it suits the shareholders and then it does not benefit the country, what decision would you make? And you said, I would make the decision that would benefit the country. And your biggest worry was that you probably didn't get the job as a result. But for you, the country came before everything else, before anyone else. And those are the things that I think I have, and most of us, actually all of us, basically have appreciated about you, is that you're not about yourself. Other people matter more. How you've loved us, every single one of us, one way or the other, have gained something from you, or benefited something, or you've helped us in one way or the other, whether it's an interview, whether it's a job, not nepotism, but whether it's interview, whether it's a job, everybody would come to you, whether it's advice in terms of career, decisions to make in terms of their lives, whether you basically trying to get the family together, cousins to know each other. You've always been instrumental into unifying people. You have always been instrumental you always say people first. And those are the things that I think we would truly appreciate. We've appreciated your crying. My mother is a crier. She is a very strong woman at work. She is strong, male-dominated and everything else, but once she comes home, how she gets us to do anything is to cry. So she will sit and cry, like, I've done everything for you. What do you guys want me to do? And then we'll feel guilty and we'll know, okay, we need to now get ourselves together. But at work, it's completely different. I'm like, who is this woman who can command everything? But once it comes to family and home, there's this soft, loving, You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and you know. So that's something that, again, appreciated, that you love people, and I'm just with you. I feel like it's so unfair that I talk alone, because I feel like I would love. Yeah, I know I'm gonna put you in the spot. Like, I truly feel like, even if it's one thing that for some of the cousins, I'm not gonna call all of them because of time, but just something that I think they would, for them, stands out about her. Because I think talking alone, I cannot, as much as my experiences, but I'm her daughter, you know? But if it had to come from somebody else, I think it would have so much value as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Nosipho Siwisa-Damasane. This is umagazi wami. We are African, so I am msebenzi umagazi kanjani, but umagazi. Thanks, Vic, for putting me on the spot. Sorry. Or no matter. I think from a daughter who's a daughter but not a daughter, but I am a daughter, quite frankly, whether you like it or not. Auntie, I think thank you for writing the book. One of the things that I feel the older generations don't necessarily do is to document things for us to know as the younger ones, and to also just learn from you, and like as it used to be, you know, back in the day. So I think we all appreciate that you've actually penned everything down, and we can learn from your lessons, we can learn from your achievements, and I am one of the non-nepotism job people. So, you know, that support that you give to us all the time is so appreciated. And we're so, so very proud of you for this huge achievement. And just thank you. I think that's all I really want to say, is that thank you on behalf of the whole family. We are overjoyed.
Thank you, Sylvie. So, just one last thing and then I'm out of here. Mom, we're proud of you. Thank you for leading by example. You demonstrate servant leadership, and thank you for that. Abu and I, and Dan is not here, but Abu and I are better because we have you, and we're grateful that we can look up to you, and we have you as an example. Even when you go through the hardest times, you always come out. You went through the hardest time when you were writing this book, but you came out with a book. So thank you. We fight because we've seen you fight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you remember, but when we started this program, there was an interruption with music. So often in your life, when you're trying to do something that's meaningful and has gravitas, someone will try and lure you away with music, hedonism, and spirits. Watch out for that. Now I'm going to ask you, Abu, to continue what she's been doing since we got here enjoying drinks. Please give us a song. Thanks.
Hello everybody, I'm just going to be making my way to the piano. you always think that you can do better, better, better. But will you call me when I'm famous? When I'm famous, would you call my name? And will you call me when I'm famous? Yeah. When I'm famous, would you call my name? And what's a girl gotta do to make you happy? Is it all about the fortune and the fame? Would you care if they scream my name? If they did, I would still feel the same. I've been here all alone. When it comes to me and you, no spotlight on. 'Cause you always think that you could do better, better, better. What will you call me when I'm famous? Babe? When I'm famous, would you call my name? Will you call me? Will you call me? And will you call my name? 'Cause I really believe in love. I really believe in love that won't die. And it can only get better, better, better. When I'm famous.
Thank you so much, Abu. One of the greatest things that a parent or a parent figure can do for a child, besides regular meals, a comfortable place to sleep, and a solid education, it's a happy childhood. And I don't doubt that it's a source of pride for Dubs that both of her daughters are involved in this program too. Dubs, one of the most celebrated writers in South Africa, which is Mr. Zaid Sunda, was once asked why it is that he writes. And his response, amongst many other things, was, I write in order to make history more relatable. I humanize history through my writing. So now I'm going to call Mrs. Kanisa Manzini Unyamagayish to come and ask Utabawa why it is that she writes. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I took this assignment, I asked Uspakes, I call her Spakes. She's got many names, but they're loving names. I asked her, hey man, we are going to Joburg, ne? And I'm based in PE. I said, who are you expecting in Johannesburg? And she said to me, no man, Kani, Buzzy friends. Okay? I said, friends. And she said, no, Buzzy friends. So I just want to extend that to everybody that's in the room. Much of the talk is unscripted, okay? I am going to rely on your non-verbal communication, okay? Before I hand over to her, because we are dying to hear her voice, that deep voice of hers, that commanding but loving. I just want to take it back, Space. August 18, 2018. This is what you said. The huge announcement. I'm writing my first ever book. First in capital letters. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. and in brackets Florida time, I'll reveal the title. It's so exciting. Stay tuned. Man, there were lots and lots of comments thereafter. Everybody claiming the space to say we are first, come to us, congratulations. So, now that we have you here in Johannesburg, tell us, please, why this book?
Good evening. Somebody asked me earlier, are you nervous? And I said, I never really get nervous when I have to do these things. I think they come naturally. But to be honest with you, there is that 5 seconds of heartbeat. Normally, I usually says, I lost a bit in my heart. And so you do have those, and especially when people talk about you and you're still alive. I think it's better when you can't hear them. So I am excited, first of all, to be here before I answer you. But I wouldn't have done justice if I don't do this. And this I'm not doing with any disrespect to anyone. But I have to do it because they say, if you do not know where you're coming from, you will never know where you headed. I am really, really excited about Abantu Basemushwa who are here today. I have to say it. Abantu Basemushwa, some people think we don't exist, eh? So I just have to say that because so, you know, in the book I do narrate something about how our parents, Basemushwa, pride themselves on educating their children. So I'm not here to but I just advocated because I guess I have to just remember that's who I am. Why the book? And take it further and say why now? Why 2018? This book has been in my mind for the last 7 years. If I wrote it then, it would not be the same book. So there is nothing better than an idea whose time has come. It was time for this book to come out. I remember I went to a retreat in the West Rand with Debbie and Dan, where I first met them. They were working on a workshop to get writers to tell a story. And to be honest with you, you did give me confidence that I actually have this book. Because you know when you feel like you want to do something, but you don't get yourself into it because you're saying, Waba said it very well, what story is there, you know? And years gone by, me trying to write this book and it not coming out. I went through a serious dip in my life last year, in 2018, beginning of the year. And it made me, as part of that reflection, I decided to do something that I've wanted to do. And I wrote the book. The book was written and published, including everything that goes into the manuscript before it becomes a book in 2 months, in less than 2 months actually. Because it was just time for it. And what is amazing about with time is a very fun, significant indicator for somebody's life as well. I then have been receiving a whole lot of people or calls, people writing to me, wanting me to be their mentor and coach. So when I went to the States, my intention was to go and get training from John C. Maxwell, which I did. Those of you who know him as a guru. And when we were busy paging with Baba looking for the John Maxwell Nomava, So when we were going through the whole notion of getting the one where John Maxwell himself is going to be, well, I wanted him to take me through the coaching and mentoring, I discovered Les Brown. And what was so funny, they were 3 days apart. So I actually went, spent time with Les Brown, and I came out of it and went to spend time, and then I went to Orlando to spend time with John Maxwell. In between that, I went to a book camp in the States, and my life was never the same. Wow. That's basically what happened. So I feel, Kanyisa, to answer you in a straight line now, I wrote this book with the hope that it will actually help other people who are leaders after me, who are younger, who are older, but who are leaders after me, to learn a few things from the lessons I've learned. And they are not all rosy. I think that's very important, that as a leader, you need to sort of talk about the difficult parts as well. Otherwise, then people get disappointed on the way if they think it's smooth sailing when you go through leadership. So this book is very small. Can you give me the book? The book is very small. I'm going to give it back to you now. It's 2.5 hours. If you're serious. If you're not, you can take a weekend away. So I know some people that I live with. So effectively, this book is everything for everyone. It's a little bit of everything for everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me challenge the author. I've got the first run, okay? And in Port Elizabeth, she told us the same thing. You can read this book in 2 hours. Some of us are competitive in nature. So when somebody gives you like a time frame, man, I took this book and I went over 2 hours. And then I got really angry because now I was told it was 2 hours and I didn't reach that milestone. So it is true that it is a book that you can read within 2 hours. But my experience with the book is that it is concentrated. And when something is concentrated, you need to dilute it a little bit, Anita. Okay, a little bit of dilution. So, honestly, I took the book and every now and then it gives you calls for pause. So, I would like for Uspeaks to walk us through that calls for pause. Why did you give us such a compact book? And what was the kind of, and you telling us that it's a book for everybody. So please walk us through that.
It became very difficult because, first of all, I just don't have this dream of thicker books because I was thinking it's an easy read until people told me that it's not that easy because it's got a lot, what you're saying about concentration. But I was looking at different people through my eyes and through my life at different stages of their lives. So if you like this book, you can put in the shelves for leadership, you can put in the books for memoirs, you can put in the book for, it covers a whole lot of things. So I was looking at an intent that I was, and looking at intents today. I was looking at a millennial that I will never be, that I was, and I was looking at millennials that I live with, and I was seeing the difference. And I was looking at millennials at work, I was looking at them, the way they just conduct their lives and how different it is from ours. And I kept thinking maybe the generation before us felt the same way about us, I don't know. And I was also looking at people navigating leadership. The subject, when it was introduced, it was very loose and fluid. So people used to say, what is this subject called leadership? Until you actually work with people and you realize that working with people is not about the computers, it's not about the assets. The biggest asset that you have as a leader is to serve the people that report to you. I don't know if you see the contrast. Is to serve the people that report to you. So the tendency that we have as leaders is to take the title and get excited. and run away with the title and forget that we are messing up with people's lives because we spend more time at work than we do at home. So part of the things that I did in this book was, I'm sure you know most authors, when you write a book, you actually want to get your preface to be written by a famous person so that the book can be bought. So there's two things, and the first one you will laugh. I went back to my father's books and I realized that he never had a preface. So I said, okay, then it means it's up to the writer. So that gave me the authority. Because part of writing this book was really also to honor him, to pay tribute to him. And the book will tell you who he has been to us as children, especially to me, because it's my life in the book. So when I saw that, oh, Dad never had a preface, I saw about 8 of his books, trying to find how did he choose. So I thought, okay, he had confidence in himself, so much that they will buy this book because I wrote it. So I took that. So I went to one of the teams that I've actually led in South Africa. And I said, I would like you as a team to write my preface. So in the book, when you read my prefaces from my team, so you can never buy the book because of them, because you don't know them. So that's something that I pride myself in this book, is that it's a very simple book. I've simplified it so much that everybody realizes that they do have a book in them. So I've gone through navigating corporate life. I remember, I think it was Slangule the other time after reading the book, he says, I never thought there was a time you were unhappy at Transnet. Because I never looked unhappy at Transnet. I mean, there's translators in the house. But in the book, I navigated, but in a very positive way, to sort of help you sitting in a corner in a particular day, feeling I want to quit. And say to yourself, there are examples of people who don't quit because it's tough. Because it is not about you, it is about the people you are leading. So if you quit because you have options, what about the people that you are leading who might not have all these options at the same time and they are looking up to you? Because people do not work for companies, people work for bosses. So I navigate that space a lot in this book, and I talk a lot about my experiences. And then I go through a time when I struggled with my life. I had a near-miss experience of death. I faced death, I embolized. Not many people survive embolism, especially the way it came to me. And the wake-up call that it gives you, this almost death experience, does make you think differently as well about life. You look at life, you relook at the way you do things, and you relook at your life. And so it sort of touches on painful things. I got divorced. That's the most painful thing that you can go through as an individual, right? And it's got its pain that it comes with. And I touch on that in the book. And I touch on it again, not in a negative way. The first person that I signed the book and gave to, the new one, was my ex-husband. I don't know how many people can be bold enough to give the person you divorced with the book. Because there is nothing that is negative except for exploring what it is that you go through. So I've tried to trust my readers with my life, because I wanted to authentically just share the trials and tribulations, the great things that happen in your life as you navigate. And when you're a pioneer, when you do things that you start that people have not done before you, if you're lying to people, then you're going to disappoint them. So it's a whole lot of things. That's why Kanye is saying it looks small, but it's concentrated because it touches on every aspect of what you go through. And I don't want to deprive you of reading the book. So I'm going to give you the areas you will say, oh, that's what you meant, kind of thing. So I don't know if I'm still with you. I also leave a couple of tips in the book for interns, and I also leave a couple of tips in the book for women who are leaders.
Hence, this is a difficult task for me. If you just take a look at this book, it's got many colors in it. So I myself struggled to try and steer these conversations because I have many questions. So I had to kind of think it through. what are some of the things that stood out for me that I would like Uspakes just to walk us through? And I think you touched on it. Foundationally, the family setup and how it is that your father guided some of your thoughts. If you can give me just a moment, I just want to read just a little bit that she wrote. One of the things that you said about Dad, it reads, "My dad asked for an extension from retirement to come and personally teach me through matric." Okay? Babilene. And then you also say, of course we Babilene, we wrote the book. Just in case. Okay. You also say, "My saving grace was my ambition to succeed and listen to my father's wisdom and advice without diluting it and with my limited knowledge and experience." Please won't you just give us a little bit of that experience with Dad? I know we have different people within the audience, and I think I think it's an important voice to hear within the space. Can you do that for us?
I think the one thing that I took from my father that I would probably share is the fact that could help other fathers as well, because I'm gonna be a father. My father knew exactly what he wanted out of me, but he never forced it through me. So if I wanted to do something, he would actually give me a little experiment to go through that experiment, and then when it fails, then he'll come with a solution. And it started off when I was very young and at a very young age. So one of the reasons why he retired to actually come back and teach me, I think he had confidence in himself. I don't know if we can say much about teachers today, being confident in teaching their own children. And the second one being that Norma was 36, I'm sure you noticed. So I'm sure you've done the sums. I was 15. And when that happened, my father took a decision on the spot. Many people know this. My father took a decision on the spot that you can't be a mother at this age. So when I delivered Nomava, I think it was June 18, and the following year he took me to boarding school, and everybody said, she'll come back with another child. But his wisdom told me that no, she's learned her lessons from this. So, navigating being taught by my father was another story, so I'm not going to go through that. But I think what I took out of it was the fact that I now have had to have my own children and learn not to force them through things because I understand them or because I think they suit me. I'm sure you've noticed that my daughter is a singer and my other daughter is a missionary. And both of them, when they came to me, the firstborn, when she came to me and said, after she was working here in Johannesburg, and she just came one day and she said, God is calling me. It's scary. But part of me said, but I know God. So if she was called somewhere else, it would have been difficult. Well, I wouldn't have known. Not that there's anything wrong with it. And when my second born came and said, Mom, I want to sing, I just want to sing. And a lot goes through a parent's head during those periods because, well, how am I going to explain you in the dining room tables, dinner? And then I'm saying you're a missionary and you're a singer. You know? And then they talk about, and then missionary, and then I have to explain what that is, and sometimes until I went to class and okay, when's what I'm doing exactly? What is it? And then I had Abu, and I keep saying to her, when she says, Mom, I write songs, I'm like, babes, to me, you're a singer, or often by singing it. So it's something that I took to answer you from him, because he never forced me to do anything, but he influenced what I needed to do.
I think I've been given extraordinary powers today. And I would love to also have to hand over some of the powers to you that are sitting here, because many of the things that she's saying are resonating. I can see your faces. But because I'm power hungry, I will continue. And when the time has come, then we will nicely hand it over to the room to pose some questions. You don't necessarily would have had to read the book in order for you to pose questions. And that's the beauty about this book. So let me continue dominating. Okay? I'm going to read something, and I'm trying to steer this now into the arena of leadership. Okay? And I'm going to read a sentence. Specs, you said, I firmly believe that the fact that you are a leader does not make you the brightest person in the room. Amen. Should I read it again? I heard an amen. I was the first woman in my role, but this didn't make me the cleverest either. I merely meant I got there first. Sorry, it merely meant I got there first. Yeah. Would you care to comment? Are you itching to comment?
Yes, I would like to comment, and it's actually something that bugs me all the time, that people think that because you're the leader, you must have all the answers. There's a reason why you have a team. Because if you put it together with the people that you work with, that you assist with, and allow their ideas to flow, you become successful and you're a better leader. So I am not a leader that has probably made some successes in the industries that I've been in because I've done the work alone. It is because I've managed to tap into, and I'm happy because the transmitters in the house, so I can just talk about them today. I've actually pulled a whole lot of women into the arena of hardcore operations in the port industry, and later on into supply chain, which leads into rail operations. And what has stood out for me is the fact that I hear people today in 2019 saying, you know, and then we had this board meeting and I was the only woman, and they say you're proud. Yeah? They're not saying, you know, what bothered me the most was that I'm still the only woman in the room. And for me, that is a problem, because you know that there are clever people outside of the boardroom who want to be in, and they're probably cleverer than you. So what I mean in that sentence is that they were looking for one person to be a leader at the time when I took the first role running ports in the country and probably in the world. But the reality of it is that I then got there first. How I'll be judged is not how I got there first, is what I did when I got there. So the first thing was to identify other women who have potential to actually move. In fact, I'm proud to say the person who runs the port that I ran first when I started is a woman. And I identified her then. She was teaching ABET. And I said, what criminal acts are these to have a woman with an honors degree teaching ABET in a court? And through the years, and throughout the years, she was patient with her career, and she actually runs the Port of East London as we speak today. And I always say, those are the little things that we do, and she's not the only one. I started programs, I went to my boss and said, I'm not happy that I'm the only woman. I can't help that I'm the first. What are we going to do? And I was lucky because I had a boss who was also very, very supportive of women and supportive of development generally, and I talk about it in the book. So effectively, what I'm trying to say is that how man, you're not necessarily clever. Experience okay, maybe you have all these things, but there are other things that come into it, new ideas. You know nothing about IT, you know nothing about social media, you know nothing about a lot of things. So listen to the youngsters, work with them, they grow through you, you grow through them. I see some of my ex-people from Saswa. So wherever you go, have people wanting to continue to be associated with you because you led them.
I need the arrownet. Ne? Kaloku mna the stirrer. I was given the task of being the stirrer, ngiyazamisa. So if something needs to be teased out a little bit, I think it's within my ambit to do so. Specs, you are passionate about women and transformation. And this book also takes us through that. One of the things that I, even as a woman, as I read this, it caused me to pause. And it's a little sentence I said, I learned quickly that corporate politics are a fact of corporate life. Corporate politics are a fact of corporate life.
There are people who actually are in their positions today, and they say, I'm good at what I do, I'm technical enough, and therefore they don't see when the bus or the train is coming for their head. So the reality of it is that you can't run away from the fact that there's corporate politics. It's actually getting worse. But what I've realized as well with time as I was growing up in leadership, it's not a South African phenomenon. It's a global problem. The positions, I call it this thing a little pyramid. There's less positions on top and more on the bottom. So everybody's chasing the positions on the top, right? Some people are willing to stumble through people's heads to get to where they want to be. They don't look at the blood on the floor. They just look at and target where they are heading. They crash most of the time. But the reality of it is that, so I'm talking about managing corporate politics in terms of people wanting to push their headway against all odds and not worrying about how many corpses they live as they go on the way. I'm also talking about corporate politics as, and I think I touched on it in the beginning, the fact that when things are tough politically at work, it does not necessarily mean you must exit. You must actually calculate what it means, this politics that you are in. What does it mean to me? What does it mean to my team? Sometimes, and most importantly, what does it mean to my customers? Because they're not part of this problem, right? But they do bring the revenue that brings the salary in. So there is a lot of things that I touch on in the book after I've referred to corporate politics. And I also go to a time when I myself was pushed. I was groomed in a particular way because naturally I was the first one to get into the environment. And people must know when to say stop. So I was groomed and I saw myself going, navigating the corporate world, navigating different spheres of the businesses that I was operating in. And I knew I was being made ready to be a CEO one day. And I said to Nomisa, my friend, and I said to Nomisa one day, we were in Durban, and I said, Nomisa, I know that I've been groomed for a CEO role, but my friend, let me tell you, it is not necessarily here. Because that's the other problem. Now people groom you, and now you want to hold on to, because I know I was told I'll be a CEO, I'm being groomed for one, and then you hold on to your position. You are made ready to be the CEO for the world so you can go and work for any other entity. So don't hold on to it. They are training for South Africa, they are training for the world. So when it got to a point where it was just about to materialize that I could have been that CEO that I was groomed for, things changed drastically. When I say things went south, things went very south, if there's anything called that. And navigating through that process of things going south, at the back of my mind was, remember what you said to me, Mr. in Devon North. You are not groomed for a CEO position where you are. So therefore, get yourself out into the world and see if the world is not bigger. And guess what? I found that the world is an amazing oyster for everyone.
To prove she's not joking, it's written here in black and white. It's here. And I read, during this 3-year period, I received 3 demotions. Yes, 3. Now that's a level of honesty. Those are levels, actually, of honesty, okay? So it's here in black and white. Let me navigate a little bit further, okay? And we're gonna touch on something that I also know. and have come to understand that it's an area that is of significance to you. It's important. I'll start the sentence that said, I started therapy very late in my life because for the longest time, I believed it was not for me. I saw it as a sign of weakness. Trust me, it is not.
And so those of you who know Sis Nambita, Mama Gasile is a social worker. So she would say to me when I say this, so why do you think we went to school then? If therapy is not important. And I talked about the fact that I wrote this book at a very difficult time in my life. And it's not knowing that as things accumulate and things are happening in your life, they have an effect in your life. Until you sit in front of a person who doesn't say anything. I did try therapy before I noticed that I needed it. And each time I went, and friends of mine are in the room, some of them took me with, they accompanied me with, and I would go there and come back and they say, so how did it go? I'm like, no, but I sat in front of this guy and he said nothing. For a whole hour, I talked and talked and talked, so I've learned nothing. And then I remember one single friend of mine would say, be patient, I think you must go back. And then I go back, and I come back and I'm like, the guy said nothing. So what am I going to learn and when am I going to learn it? So therefore I dropped therapy. But in 2018, I was very clear in my mind that I actually need to do it. Why am I writing about therapy in this book? Whilst in the middle of writing this book, one of the biggest geniuses of this country takes his life, Dr. Mayos. And at that point I said, go back to chapter 6 and write this properly. Because it's leaders who need to come out and talk to people about the problems we encounter. Otherwise, people think we don't have them. And because they think we don't have them, they get disappointed because now you're a leader and your staff is going, or something is bothering you in a big way, but you can't talk about it openly because people are going to judge you. It gets into a level where you can't handle it on your own. So talking about that in my book, I'm also saying to people, guys, this word success is not something that you just rent and then it's nice to have. There are a lot of things and obstacles that you meet on the way. And in South Africa, unfortunately, it takes something like that. It takes somebody, a Dr. Mayos taking his life, for us to start talking about the fact that leadership is a lonely place. And people can take their lives because talking to the person next to you saying, I'm going through a lot, I can't accept what is happening in my life, or this and that. What do? They paint the streets red. They don't kneel with you, pray with you, take you to therapy, help you go to therapy. Because it is an embarrassing thing to do when people perceive you in a particular light. So in that book, I'm authentic to say, guys, it's tough. And as leaders, and as future leaders, when it does get hard, ask for help. And if you can't trust anyone with it, you can go to therapy. Because I almost went into depression by the time I actually went into therapy. And the doctor told me that you missed it by seconds. Yeah? Because you go through, I told you I was demoted 3 times. I was, for real. And you take it light and you keep pushing, and then you get divorced and you keep pushing, and then you go into all these things and you just keep pushing and keep pushing, and the body says, stop. I need service.
Mental health is a very important thing indeed. And it's not a step that we need to, or we should overlook. There is in this book often a reference about a bathroom. You seem to have a relationship with the bathroom. You see, she's laughing, eh? She must expand on this. I thought, since I have the power to ask, it's now public, ne? I'm going to hand it over.
So growing up, I was a very lazy child. I didn't quite like to do hard work and manual work. I still don't. And there was a lot of manual work at home. Those of you who come from here to know this. They get DP, it was just a lot. And then the sister, she would like on a normal Saturday when we were supposed to be enjoying the sun, say, oh, as curtains in dark. And then before we noticed, she's washing the walls and we're supposed to be part of this. So I used to go and hide in the toilet. And I don't call it the bathroom because it is a church. Off the toilet. So I used to go and sit there with my books and read. So my dad dubbed me the mistress. I think I was doing something at the time. So he'd be saying, the mistress, again. Because I would clearly be in the toilet. And I wouldn't be in the toilet that is inside the house. We were at the toilet recently done. But what was this long pint is nobody calls you from that one. So I would hand my feet up so that nobody can see if they check. And I'm just sitting there the whole day reading the book. So my relationship with her started off when I was very young, from laziness. And what is amazing is I was going through corporate. I went through articles, which is a very tough time that I navigate in the book as well. And I didn't want Abelungu to see me crying again. I didn't want Abelungu to see me crying at all. Do you know what that means? I didn't want to see the white guys to see me crying. So what I would do, I'd go and cry in the bathroom. Done. So I'd go to the toilet and cry, and we didn't do makeup a lot, you know, and you guys know. And then I would try to wipe my eyes and they're swollen, and I go back and sit there because I was just not getting work. Now remember, I was in the bathroom because I was running away from work. Now I'm in the bathroom crying for work. I'm working for NCB, now I want to be given work. I'm not getting work, I'm crying. So I'm in the bathroom. And that bathroom story has followed me right up to Sasol. Believe it or not, strong as I looked as a senior vice president, I was crying in the toilet most of the time. I even said to Momisa once, I said, I cannot believe for the life of me that I'm still crying in the toilet. I'm 50. I was 50. I'm like, why am I still crying in the toilet over 50? So I think, therefore, you say you have a relationship with it. I do think that I do have some form of relationship. It doesn't matter if it's good or it's bad.
I'd love to hear your voices. In 10 minutes. Are you sure? Because I can go on. There's a gentleman that I had a wonderful conversation with before we started. He gave me a little bit of intel. And he said to me, you know what? And he knows who he is. He said to me, hey man, I'm going to read the first chapter and the last chapter. Then I'm going to decide whether or not I'm going to buy the book. Now, I want to respond to him publicly and say, by the time we spoke about mental health, we were at the end of the book. So imagine how much mileage there is in here. So, I've got 10 minutes to play. I would love to ask you more questions. And if you can, in a way, try and debunk some of these things for us. They say it is lonely at the top in leadership. May I get a response?
May I get another leader to respond? Where are the leaders in the room? Who is, okay, let me put it this way, there's somebody there. I would love to meet somebody who says, I'm at the top, and it's not lonely, and it's fun, and it's not cold. Somebody who's in the equator. So, do you want to take up that? I saw your hand was up.
When you said who wants to answer the question, I would like to answer the question.
As I said, this is not rehearsed, eh? So please come through.
Oh, okay. Come all the way or stay here. Okay, great.
Thank you. My name is Cindy. I'm Cindy Piliti. I'm a Scooby. I need to, you know the fans have names, so I'm a Scooby. I do not know you at all, but I picked it up on Facebook. But I frequent scoops, and the title called me. But then I read at the back, and I thought, okay, and somehow I ended up being free. And here am I. But listening to you now, there's so many parallels in our stories. Now I know I am here because I've written my book and put it aside, and I'm like, I don't think it's ready for the world, because I learned that I was black when I was in articles for the first time. So there's so much that I can relate with, and in the name of put on your big girl panties and waddle. So you go out there and you show up and you shine. And mine was the actual bathroom in the bath. That's where I cry. That's how I do my crying in the bath. But it gets very hot. When you're not getting the work, I was the first black person, female in the firm. Well, there were females before me, but not getting work. So you're sitting there as an article clerk and you're supposed to be getting work and not getting work. And you're spending time in the bathroom and you're crying, and then you come back and then you're singing in the corridors and they're thinking, this black person, what's the story, So talking about loneliness at the top, I know it firsthand, because from there, I actually really grew and then have always been in leadership positions, but I took a different path in that I never worked for corporate. I said I would actually employ accountants. That's what I do. So I went and formed a firm and then employed just to prove that I can do it. But it gets very lazy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that contribution. Let me continue. I'm going to read something. I love this book. And I'm going to read something that I highlighted. Speaks, you said, I realized that the only way for me to learn was to walk the plant, to engage with employees on the ground, and to ask questions. We are still on leadership. Can you take us through?
I'll just quickly say that I'm the CEO who wears overalls, PPE, protective clothing. Those of you who know for environmental issues. Because, and this thing for me, and learning that the knowledge is on the ground and the wisdom is on the ground, started off when I was young and I was working for my father, who didn't pay me well, so I resigned to go and work for his service station because he was not the only partner. And I worked with blue-collar workers, and I didn't know that this was preparing me for the world. Because then I went into the accounting firm, and you know that the accounting world is white collar, clean, grey suits. And I landed in the ports, and an accountant landed in the ports to run hardcore operations. And I got into the boardroom, being the boss, and my team was all pale and male, and they all had more than 20 years experience in running the ports, and I was an accountant, and I was their boss. And I was black, and I was a woman, and I was 33. So there was just nothing counting on my side or for my side. So in cases like those, people choose two paths. You can decide to be very arrogant, so that they should scare of you, excuse my language. Alternatively, you can humble yourself and say, I'm here to learn. So wearing my overalls the first time, going to the ground, was I realized that I actually don't even know the terminology. When they talk about TEUs and all these things, I'm like, what the hell is that? What am I doing to myself, kind of thing. So I thought, the people who will teach me what that is without fear of losing anything is actually the guys on the ground. So that made me actually adopt this approach of working with the people on the ground. But it also goes a long way, because Pai Durban, those of you who come from Durban specifically will know in Yoruba, people used to complain about Bongani stuff, but Nosipho you know what that means? She kisses even the dirty people on the ground who are just drunk in the mouth, kind of thing. So that sort of helped me, because then I learned faster and I learned more from people who have wisdom and not necessarily have degrees. And that has been my winning formula. Everywhere I go, I've got a new job. That's why I'm going out of Paris, those who are watching. I've already ordered overalls. I'm the first person to order overalls in the company who's a female, except for the train drivers. So it tells you a lot. But for me, I know I get into a place, I wear the overalls, I go and work with the people. I know the language quick. I know the people. You know, at Sasol, I was the only SVP who wore overalls. At RBCT, those of you who know, at Transnet, safety boards on the ground, learn the business, go to move. People think that if you're wearing an overall, oh, there's another Sasol in the back. So people think that if you are wearing overalls and you're not wearing suits, people will take you for granted. No, people are not looking for your suits. People, they are looking for what you can do to add value to their lives. So it has been my winning formula in leadership, is to work with the people, for the people, by the people, with the people, all the time.
I would like to pose one more question, and it's burning. What is the meaning for you to being black and being female in the industries where you have worked and held positions of leadership?
Yeah, vamos por poesía muy cool, né? So certain things come into your life when you are younger and you resent them. When you are older, you embrace them. I've never seen something that has worked for me in the environment than my voice. Because when I'm talking and you're all looking that side, you're not sure. So you're taking the instruction by the time you turn your head and you find me. So I have not put too much emphasis and worry on me being a black female in the industries I've been, specifically in the logistics, transport, rail, port environment. I've put too much emphasis on ensuring that other women don't see themselves as women. So I quickly got out of this habit of wearing black suits. You know, black suits, so that I look like them, and white shirts with small collars. And I thought, I'm getting out of this, I'm gonna wear bright dresses. I'm sure you notice in all my lunches have been bright and lovely, no black. Because I'm saying, we're not trying to be the guys. You know, we're not trying to be the guys. We're bringing ourselves to the job, and we're different. There's the intuition and then there's ego. And God gave each person one. And you know where one resides and the other resides. So why fool yourself and try to put ego into this? You don't have it. It's not with you. It's not with you in your DNA. Our DNA has intuition. You feel it. It's wrong as it's coming. The guy says, no, it's not coming. If it was coming, I would have seen it. You know how it works? So I've never tried to be a man, but I've been fortunate because I've got my voice, sort of commands some bit of respect and attention. So I've used that way. It helps me a lot. And I've tried to bring up a whole lot of women to look at themselves as to what it is that they bring to their profession and their careers. And I've seen some successful stories happening inside of the space where, or the sphere I've influenced, and I've seen it outside of the sphere of influence. I see a whole lot of black girls in industries breaking ground. And I look at them and I say there is hope for this country. South Africa is going places because the generation after us, as we are the generation that is disappearing, we're not leaving a vacuum behind us, which is part of the reason why I wrote this book. So that when it's tough, go and read something that's documented by somebody else and see if it can help you.
It is time for me to hand over the reins. I have a challenge though. When you were talking about being woman and the audience was clapping, the males didn't quite clap. I'm watching from this chair. So I have an appeal, program director. If you can use your powers to try and get us a male voice, and also use your super extraordinary powers to get the millennials to talk to us as well. Because I did say this is a conversation and all of us are talking. Let me hand over the reins. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I believe the French word for a stirrer is a provocateur. So I thank you for doing what the mandate you were given was. It's easy for me to choose a male voice. There's a gentleman who asked if he could please say something because he was mentored by the author. So I'm going to give him a moment to come and speak to me. And my millennial, can you please get ready? I'm going to call you after this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's an emotional moment for me to talk at your occasion. I think for me, most emotional is emotional, petty, if I'm maybe at work. I remember the first time I experienced her at work in action. We had a big incident at RBCT where she was a CEO, whereby the RBCT terminal, which is the biggest coal terminal in the world, was closed for something like a month or so. Because there was a big cable fault at the municipality cable that feeds the RBCT. So I happened to hear her talking on the telecom, and I could tell I know this voice with a very commanding voice on the telephone. And she used to have, there's one thing she has which I like to appreciate, is she believes in people. It was really a tough incident, and there's a word that she always used, and that's surely. Surely you guys should have a solution for this. No, Brian and you and Cooper and the other guys was Cooper and surely you guys can have a way to get this thing done. Maybe write a book. So all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Before I bring up my millennial, I want to say that in addition to being UDAPS, I've actually had the honor of working at 2 companies that Utabawa has worked in, which is Transnet and Ernst & Young. And at Ernst & Young, when I was there, one of the key things was asking the better question. And I think the better question we must ask ourselves as we are finding the woman within is, how do we make sure that we take the men with us on the journey? Because we don't want to create empowered women who will not be able to live within a society and be able to be effective in a society because we left the men behind on the journey. And it's one of the things that UDAPS does very well, is to take us along with on the journey. Now, it takes a great deal to understand millennials because they think differently. They are idealistic, they want to change the world, but they don't want to work 9-to-5 jobs. So it's a contradiction. But I want to bring up Ulinda Ngozwana, who recently graduated as an aeronautical engineer from Everett University. She's one of the people who calls UDAPS her mentor, and she'd like to say something on behalf of millennials.
Hi Dubs. Hi everyone. Okay, my name is Linda, as it's been said, and I recently graduated last week, Thursday. I graduated as an aeronautical engineer, and there were 10 graduates, just need to say, and I was one of them. So Dubs, you know, engineering is also very, very male dominated. So I'm very inspired by a book. I can't wait to read it. And we've had lots of conversations as I was going through varsity. She's been my mentor and she's inspired me so much. And one of the reasons why I've pushed through my very difficult degree. So I'm really looking forward to reading this book. What advice would you give, or what would you say to your 25-year-old self who just graduated and is about to walk into a very, 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 very male-dominated industry like aviation, like engineering? What words of wisdom do you have for me?
I'd say, dear Nosipho, at 25, Well done for taking your time with your career and being patient with it. Well done for being willing to learn from people who are either your seniors or your juniors, for as long as they can explain it to you and articulate it to you in a way that you would understand so that you could move forward. And I would say humility is still the best formula. So I would relive my life exactly the way I did.
Thank you so much. It looks like there's another contribution from the floor.
Mine is a question. Congratulations, Pege. I'd like you to talk about the title of the book. You say finding the woman within, and when you say finding you're not saying finding a woman. And I'd like you to pay attention to that, finding the woman within. And also when you say within, there's a significance in that, and which is one of the things that will pull people into your book. And I'm looking forward to reading it, and I'm looking forward to finding what you found. The question that I have is, was there in your life throughout the book, I've just learned that at 15 you had a baby, and you've been a CEO of many organizations, big corporates. Was there a moment in your life where you actually said, I have found it. I have found the woman within?
Those of you who know Uqalisi, that's why you trick question, baby. So you first keep it answering it, because Uqalisi, it was a trick question. So she's not asking me a straightforward question. I think Uqalisi, in the beginning when I was asked why the book, why now, I think 50 had something to do with it. Because everybody says, when I turn 40, I'm sure the people who have just turned 40 who are under 45, Basa, the people who are jiving there, they think they found it when they get to 40. Wait until you're 50. Then you really find it. Because at 50, nothing matters. So what I've been trying to find before I was 50, and all the things and the trials and tribulations and everything I was trying, it was just in front of me, all of it at 50. So I didn't have to struggle to find there. And you're right, it's there for, you can see it's capital letter there too. Because it was like, all along, you're going to be like, you know, I didn't notice. But to crown the title, I've actually, you see the subheading says, How to Thrive in a Male-Dominated Society. And I think I've been touching on the fact that not trying hard to be a man, bringing what you have as a woman, what God has given you within you, that you can actually provide corporates with without necessarily trying to be your counterparts, has been the biggest thing that influenced the title. And trust me, it took us 3 days to get to the title with Baba, up and down. I came to the room the one night and I said, I found the title. And she was like, I agree, it's great. Because it's a question of saying, you've been looking for this thing. I think age has something to do with it. Until you're comfortable in your skin, you're comfortable with yourself, and then you find that all the things you've been looking for are actually within you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are about... Oh, okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for grace. Hello, friends, because if your space is friends, you're my friends as well. My name is Viwe Mchonji, and I feel it would be tragic if I don't stand and ask this question. And also, I'm sitting here amazed at how much as you had these challenging roles in your life, but somehow you found the balance to be there for your friends.
I have to share this. You know, actually the last day I saw my father alive, I was with Uspakes. Uspakes knew that Utata wayegula, and I was living in Washington DC then. But Spakes, knowing that I wasn't there, in a way though, sometimes she says to me, you know how Spakes has got this sense of humor and there's a way of putting things. Listen, now you're not my friend. The person who's my friend is your mother. And she gets along very well with her. So she would go and visit with Mama and Dada when I wasn't there. So I remember that last day. So, you know, almost when fathers, when men are sick, he was determined that he was going to take me to the airport, and he had no energy, stage 4 cancer. When Spakes came there, you know, with her husband and friends, 2 friends. Actually, it was just Enoch. Yeah, there were 3 of us because there were 4 of us in the car. And I remember, I said, I was standing there with Spakes when I said goodbye the last time. And Spakes knew that, you know, that I was dying. And, you know, we were dealing with all of this, you know, other different challenges. And I think what surprises me is the fact that you were there for friends, and yet you had all of these responsibilities. And then I was going back to the US then, and when my father died whilst I was out of the country. My mother says the first person who arrived there, bringing his guns. I know she says she's lazy, but I don't know this laziness about her. Because even when we had things at home, she was Uspakes with the pots, cooking. You know, she's a CEO, but she did not stop to get her hands dirty. Spakes, I want to say, Sissy, thank you very much for being there for us, even as friends. And also the fact that maybe I'd like you to touch briefly on the fact that you were able to balance keeping the friendships, but at the same time having all of these other challenges, being there for friends and family. How did you do that? Because some of us were not available, we're missing in action because we think that we are all that, you know, Elizabeth in this 9.
So in Namibia, I was launching the book on the day when Abela was graduating. Abela is a very unlucky child. So I induced her because I got this job in East London as the first woman in this role. And now I'm pregnant, and they've already paid for me to go to Singapore to study, and I'm going to tell them I'm pregnant. I can't. So I went to my husband and said, hey man, we need to induce. We can't say I, eh? Those of you we need to induce. Because what does this mean to, you know, other women if I don't take the opportunities to learn when I'm given? And 10 days after delivery, I was in Singapore, not with her. And I'm going there deliberately because in Namibia, then they asked me this question. They said, what did you have to give up? And I'm a missionary. So I've given up to going to church. So, it's the truth. So I'm a prayer warrior. I don't go to church because I had to sit and realize that something has to give. So my kids would complain I'm too much on the phone with my friends, and I would go to funerals and weddings, and I organize a lot of things. You're right, I organize a lot of things for my friends because I need to be there for them. And I carry my laptop along wherever I go so that if there's a brief moment, I can do a little bit of things that need to be done, you know. So, but when you put it together, all of it, if you put your mind to it, happens. All these things take us not to be too important to the level where we think what we do is the greatest thing, because there are other people doing better things than what we do.
Okay, it's a bit ironic that on the day we launched the book that says finding the woman within, the final word will go to a man. I guess patriarchy is hard to kill.
Okay, good evening everyone. I'm gonna sit. Dubs, I think through association I'll call you Dubs Tuyungi. Because the first time I met her, I saw the surname Siwisa, and I was like, oh my god, do you know Nosipho? I'm very fond of the lady, I want to meet her, bro, and so on. So every single day, when I'm having conversation with her, it's about Dubs. But my question is, as much as you touched on, there is a leadership crisis in the world. It's not an African issue. but particularly in Africa, we have a leadership crisis. And there's plenty of articles that have been written about top talented individuals and leaders from Africa, particularly South Africa, leaving the country to serve other countries and other companies and so on and so forth. I think my question is, if we are asked to serve in one of the companies here in South Africa, especially in the parastatals, would we take the job? And secondly, I think secondly, for my selfish personal reasons, what's next for Dubs? Thanks.
How come I didn't see this coming? This is so much. Yeah, the Kanyisa was right, this is sabotage. I said, when I opened my first sentence when I started this conversation tonight, I said, there is nothing better than an idea whose time has come. That time has not come. I'm going to leave you with that. It's a great idea, but the time has not come. What's next for me? I feel a bit guilty. Well, I now work for a French company, but in South Africa. So I don't know if I'm not joining the people who are migrating out of the country, inside the country. But I'm not feeling guilty because I had the opportunity to serve the Housing Development Agency for 2 months, December and January, as an administrator, once I was put on my sabbatical. And I kept saying to my friends that this has dealt with my conscience, that at least I've done something for the country before. So even these French people, I'm going to have to convince them that we have to do this for the country all the time. But I do think that I dealt with my conscience that way. So what's next for me, you'll see, I think, watch the space. Vava said something like, you manage to fight when things are tough. And I think what is important that I would like my parting shot to all of you is the ability, the strongest ability, two abilities you can have, is to manage to reinvent yourself all the time. Because there is so much in you, it's like an onion. So just keep reinventing yourself and keep reinventing yourself and not give up. And I think that is the most important thing. And the second one is don't stop fighting until the day we actually say, it is well. I'm not so I can't sing, but don't stop fighting for as long as you live, because your life is in your hands and God is good. And I'm not saying believe in God if you don't, because I respect that. But my father left me with a funny word. The last day I saw him was a Thursday night, and he fell into a coma and died on Friday. And he said, have faith. What I've kept in this is that he never said have faith in what? Remember I said to you, he doesn't impose. So he never said have faith in God when he died. He said have faith. And he just kept saying have faith. And that was the last of him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is someone who once wrote that the world is like a book, and those who don't travel read but one page. One thing that has not been mentioned today is that Dubs is a traveler, and one of her favorite destinations is Dubai. Now, just a word of caution. Not everybody who checks in on Facebook and says Dubai is actually in Dubai. However, there's a gentleman who sorted it out for me. He said, listen, if I am in Dubai and I bump into you, then you are also in Dubai. Let's not complicate matters. Thank you very much to all the speakers. Now I'm going to ask Umatasle to come and do the vote of thanks.
He's a fool. I'll send you from the front. Thanks, Slangule. My name is Matahle Stofile, and Nosipho is my aunt. She is my mother's sister. In the family, we call her the bridging gap because she's not quite the elder and she's not quite the youth. So she's always the voice of reason for both the older people and the younger people. Anyway, it's nice to see a room full to celebrate a truly, truly lovely spirit that is my aunt, who, to Sis Viewer's point, is one of the most generous people I know, especially with her time, but also with just her mind and her heart. We really appreciate that about you, Aunt. I'd like to, on behalf of Nosipho, I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight, but especially Khamandale. Also to our beautiful extended family who are here and those who aren't here. It's always great to see family, and I think ours does the supporting thing quite nicely. So Slangule, my cousin and my brother, you did a great job. You're always the perfect person to do this kind of thing, so you kill it every time. Well done. To Nosipho's colleagues, past and present, but also to her industry peers, all the people who have supported her throughout the journey, she would like to say thank you. Vava and Abu, Nosipho's babies. You've become two beautiful, thoughtful, and very considerable women. And yes, Abs, you are a woman now, girl. We've watched you love and support your mother unconditionally, and that's been really a pleasure to see, and she wants to say thank you to you guys for that. To Nosipho's friends, your support never goes unnoticed, and I can personally say that I've watched you guys be there for each other every time you go Nosipho when something is happening. It truly is an inspiration for us to watch who are coming up behind you as young women. I love seeing women connect and support each other. Thank you to you, Mrs. Khanyisa Manzini, for a job well done tonight and for traveling to Johannesburg. We'd also like to thank all the corporates who have bought book packages to share with their female leaders in their companies. Very good move there. Debbie and Dan from Nosipho's writing camp, or is it book camp? We see you, and your support is noticed and appreciated. Lastly, I'd like to thank the Stelford Scoops. You guys have done a great job putting this together. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And lastly, but not least, Auntie, congratulations. We all have books in our heads, but actually writing and finishing one is no small feat. So you never cease to amaze me, lady. Congratulations. And yeah, if you don't already own a copy of the book, you're in luck because we are in a bookshop. So do the right thing and get home safely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. I think now we're about to wrap up, but the author is going to be around for the next half an hour, so if you buy a book, it can be signed and you can take a picture with her and engage on a more direct level. I just want to conclude by saying, Dubs, if you read the writings of Edward de Bono, who is a philosopher on simplicity, you'll understand that the world is on a trajectory from simplicity to complexity, back to simplicity. I'll say that again. The world is on a trajectory from simplicity to complexity, back to simplicity. It takes someone who truly understands their own history, their own story, and their own path to write it in an accessible manner. So well done on making your history more relatable. Like Zakes and Da said, it now has a more human face. I thank you.